welcome to the Jewelry Business Academy podcast. It's so good to have you here.
That's so nice to be here.
Oh my goodness, I've really been looking forward to this episode, and I feel like it was just a sign from the universe when I met you. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago now. It was at the Pink Skirt Project
Mhm.
in Kelowna, and we're in this room full of female entrepreneurs all wearing pink. It was such a vibe. It was very busy, and we were, I think you were passing me or something, and I noticed your earrings, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, love your earrings!" And we got chatting, and found out you've written a book, and you've done all these incredible things, and you own a ton of earrings. And I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, I need to bring you onto the podcast to just talk about your experience and talk about the work you do." And I know our listeners are going to just absolutely love this episode. So, yeah, I'm so glad that you were kind of brought into my life in that way. It was such a fun event. Um, but before we dive into anything, do you want to go ahead and just give our listeners a little bit of a background as to who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so I am a author, as you mentioned, a TEDx speaker. I'm an award-winning business person, and I currently do talks and facilitate workshops that help women to identify their innate strengths and talents, show up with confidence, and basically live the life that they deserve to live.
Mm.
So that's where I'm at. How I got there, I probably have to take you back to when I was born. Because I was born with a condition that meant that one of my legs didn't grow properly. So you may have noticed when you talk to me that I'm pretty on the short side.
Mhm.
So my left leg, by the time I was 8, was 4 inches shorter than my right one. So I was left feeling that I didn't, well, obviously didn't fit in very well with the world around me. And the doctors had called it a birth defect. So I kind of attached that label to who I was and thought I was defective, that I didn't quite fit in, and made that kind of offset of like, okay, I have to be perfect at everything else. So I was a good girl and a good student, and I did everything everybody expected, um, to the point where I actually got married when I was 19 because my boyfriend asked me to, and I was just delighted somebody wanted to marry me, and I took a career in accounting because that was responsible, even though math and physics was what I wanted to do. So I did all of those things. And then, interestingly enough, earrings comes into the picture because I was working in an accounting firm in my early 20s, and I was born and raised in Calgary, so I was in Calgary, and all of our clients were farmers and ranchers, and they didn't want a girl looking after their books. So I was in the back room giving advice to all the other articling students, and yet I wasn't allowed to talk to these people. And we had a dress code at that time, a really strict dress code. It was like you had to wear navy or brown or gray suits, and then a white shirt or a pale blue shirt. And I'm going like, why? I'm in the back room. Nobody sees me. Why are you forcing me into this dress code? So I started
Mhm.
wearing studs, and then I started wearing little loops, and then I started wearing bigger loops, and then I started wearing colored earrings. And people would kind of look at me and look away and look at me and look away. And it was like, they couldn't say a word because there was nothing in the dress code because I didn't exist. I was a female
Mhm.
accountant. I didn't exist. And it was probably the first time in my life that I realized that I could own my identity and that I could be who I wanted to be. And part of the way of me expressing myself was with those tiny little tidbits, which I call earrings, right? And
Wow.
it took me a while to take that home. As a matter of fact, I probably didn't take that home on purpose. I ended up with a head on collision when I was 23. Um, Ended up flat on my back and couldn't do anything because I'd broken my nose. I couldn't read, I couldn't watch TV. And I realized my husband and I were roommates
Mhm.
because we were leading parallel lives. And when my life stopped, his kept going.
Mm.
So it was like, okay, he wants a predictable life. I want more.
Mm.
And I decided to leave my marriage, which didn't sit very well because I have an Irish Catholic father and he disowned me.
Oh my goodness.
And that was hard at a point in time when you're already feeling like lost and, in my case, feeling defective and kind of unlovable. Um, but years later, I could look back and say it was the best thing he ever did for me because I no longer had to live up to his expectations. I could
Mhm.
create my own. And so I messed up. Oh my God, I did it royally. I didn't know how to make a decision for myself. I didn't have a lot of feelings of self-worth. But when you set out to prove yourself, it's amazing what you can do. And so I built an incredible career in advertising and marketing. I was like literally traveling the world, enjoying myself. And it was a wonderful way to learn what I was capable of because I was only trying to look after myself.
Mm. Wow, this is such a powerful story, Vera. And I mean, I'm sure we're going to have listeners resonating with parts of this story because I think for so many of us, you know, we obviously don't necessarily have that story that you had growing up, but I feel like in the school system and in the corporate world, we kind of are trained to be yes people
Yep.
and to look at like, what do I need to do and be, who do I need to be accepted by others versus first going inward and being like, well, who do I want to be and what values do I have and what would be like my dream scenario. We look outside at what's socially acceptable first, and it takes, in my experience, you know, it took a lot of rewiring, a lot of getting very uncomfortable to be like, oh, like I followed all the pathways of what I was told would make me successful, accepted all the stuff, and it did on one level, but it left me also deeply unfulfilled. And
Yeah.
it's so, so hard to break out of that. So, can you like take us back a little bit, a throwback again, a couple of years back to when you were having to like make that decision to, you know, leave the marriage and also like go and start your own businesses, which is such a big thing. Do you remember how you were feeling as you were navigating that?
When I left my marriage, I was really very much confused. And to tell you the truth, I threw everything away. I walked away from my accounting degree. I walked away from my job. I went back to school and studied communication arts
Mm.
because when I felt I had nothing to lose, really. And I don't think that's a situation that everybody needs to get to make the decisions that I made. Hopefully not, because it's kind of a rough place to get to. But for me, it was like I had nothing to lose. And so I went back to do the thing that I wanted to do, which was to write. And I'd always been told, you can't make a living writing, right? And that's probably true. I mean, I can't make a living off my book, but I can certainly enjoy it. And I can certainly feel more into myself by expressing myself with my words. And so so by doing that, I actually stepped into my creative self. And stepping into my creative self is when I realized that we aren't just one person. We don't have just one role. We don't have just one thing that we do well. And when I talk to people now, that's what I say is like for me, when I wear different pairs of earrings, when I start a workshop, I usually choose the earrings that I'm going to wear based on how I want to feel in that environment. Because I know the stories behind all my earrings. I might not know remember the exact places and details, but I know those stories, and I know those stories affect how I feel and how I show up. And so for me, accessing that creative self was like, what makes me feel good? And where am I going to go from there? And the businesses we started, I started them with my current husband, who's current 36 years, so that's pretty current. We started them, interestingly enough, because we'd gotten married, we had a kid, we had one kid, and we were working for other people. And through a series of circumstances, we both ended up out of work the same week.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. And you're going like, what do we do? And my husband's got this great attitude, and he says, okay, we've made all these other people rich all these years. Maybe it's time we looked after ourselves.
Mm.
And so we decided on that weekend to start a business, and we did.
Oh my gosh.
And
I just got
32
chills.
and to be fair, we started it in the industry we both worked in. We both had a solid reputation. We both knew the people. We went out on them. We started on Saturday. We came up with a name. We did business cards. Monday, we went to an industry event, said, this is what we're doing. By Thursday, we had 3 clients.
Wow.
Because they knew us.
Yeah.
And our first business plan, we had a lot of fun. Our first business plan, we said, okay, in order to grow the business, we're going to get out of the S's, because our first clients all started with S. And one of the other things we said is we wanted to be sure that in 5 years, we were still married, that we would double our revenue, which isn't hard to do when you're making $10,000.
Yeah.
And then our long-term goal was that the kids wouldn't be in jail and we would still be happy.
Nice goals. I like
I think so.
it.
And so those are achievable goals.
Yeah.
And so we've built these businesses. We built several multi-billion dollar businesses. We own commercial property. We've traveled to all 7 continents with our kids.
Wow.
So it's because we decided, what's the worst thing that can happen, and can we live with it?
Mm.
And there were some rough times. There definitely were. We came close to bankruptcy a couple times, but we we had the same goals and the same values, and we decided that we weren't going to live life for what might happen in the future and what security we might need in the future, because the future isn't guaranteed. What's the only thing that's guaranteed is now.
Mm.
And the memories we make are based on the stories we tell ourselves. And if we want to tell ourselves stories about, okay, this is going crappy, why did I do this, then that's what we're going to believe. But if we're saying, okay, this is something I need to learn, like the universe obviously thought I needed several car accidents to learn that, my life was here to be lived and not to just kind of sit still.
Yeah.
So the stories we tell ourselves is like, I'm worthy, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not ready, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or whatever. When we tell I'm going off on a tangent, but when we tell our brains those stories, I often tell people the brain is an idiot. It believes what you tell it. So if you tell it you can't do it, then it's going to make sure you can't. If you say, I can't do it yet, then it's going to help you to do it. So
Mm.
yeah, very roundabout answer. I'm sorry about
Oh
that.
my gosh, no, don't apologize. I love this so much, and I want to go back to a couple of the things that you've said. But when it comes to what you just shared about your brain, you know, it's so, so true. And it's one of the things that I recognized after coaching jewelry business owners for a while is it's actually something that we had to restructure our whole program around when I realized, like, oh, we need to first work on mindset before we even look at any strategy, because if the story a client is coming in and telling themselves about their abilities and their businesses and what is possible for them is that I'm not going to make it because of all these reasons why I'm special and different from every other business owner that has made it, then your brain's going to go and prove you right. And so we actually had to restructure our program to put mindset on day one and
Yeah.
like work through the stories you're telling yourself, work through like what are you trying to prove, and like if that narrative is I'm trying to prove like this isn't going to work for me, well, we need to fix that before we even go do any other work, because there's no point doing anything. So I think that's so interesting that you shared that, Vera. And going back to what you said about hitting rock bottom, it's interesting because I've also hit rock bottom a couple of times, and it's always been the thing that has caused me to like grow so much more,
Yes.
because at that stage, you're right, you have nothing to lose. So when I work with somebody and they're at rock bottom, and I mean rock bottom looks different for everyone, but I always reframe it to be like, this is the biggest blessing in disguise. This is going to be that moment where 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you look back and you're so grateful you hit that point of having nothing to lose, so that you went all out and did the cringy, scary, awkward things and just like pursued your dream life. Because I mean, the fact that you've built multiple billion-dollar businesses, you know that building a business is also sometimes cringy. The work you have to do, it's vulnerable, it's scary, it's uncomfortable. And if we're too comfortable in life, I,
Yeah.
I always refer to it as the golden cage. And that can look different for everyone. It can be just a life that is kind of just comfortable. It's not really the dream life, but it's comfortable enough. So you're not going to make a change. Or it could be a relationship that's just good enough. Or it could be a job that pays really well. And you're like, I have this, but I don't feel really fulfilled. But, the pay is good. So we stay in that essential golden cage. And having that taken away from us is the biggest blessing I found in my in my story, and with a lot of clients that I've worked with. So for anyone who's listening who's like going through that really difficult season of rock bottom, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone,
No.
but for anyone that I've seen go through this, it typically can be that turning point. If you're just like, you know what, I'm going to go do that thing that I want to do. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to do cringy things. Because especially when it comes to being a jewelry business owner, which is a lot of our listeners, showing up on Instagram, taking up space, using your voice, it feels cringy when you're starting, and
Yeah.
it just feels uncomfortable. So let's go back to the earrings. Because what you shared about wearing earrings every day is like you kind of your way of reclaiming how you wanting to show up and express yourself. I think this is so beautiful and this is so powerful because something that makes me really sad that I hear a lot from jewelry business owners or designers is sometimes they lose perspective over the impact that their jewelry has on the world. Sometimes, with the state of the world, there's always drama, there's always crises going on. And I have had jewelry designers who sometimes kind of hit a low where they're like, wow, I'm just like putting these beautiful things out there, but it's not really having a big impact on people in the world. Like I should be saving lives or doing something more impactful. And I think what you shared about how your earrings impacted you and helped you kind of reclaim your self identity and stuff and taking up space in that way
Yeah.
is just such a beautiful reminder. So let's dive into that. I know you have your earring dress behind you. Do you want to talk to us about the hundreds of pairs of earrings that you own and why you think that jewelry is such a powerful tool for self-expression, and how like the listeners, the designers listening to this can really tap into that when they're creating their collections?
I think one of the most important things for the designers to know is that they're not just creating a piece of jewelry that is a standalone. They're creating a memory for us. They're creating an emotion, an attachment to an emotion. And that's why the jewelry is so important to me, because as I said, I remember the stories behind my jewelry, like the ones that I'm wearing right now, my son gave me when he was about 8 years old. And we were walking down the mall. I mean, that was 30 years ago. So almost 30 years ago. So these were pretty wild back then, right?
Yeah.
And we were walking in the mall and he comes running up to me and he says, "Mommy, can you give me $10?" And I'm going, "What do you need $10 for?" "I'm buying you a gift. Don't ask. Just okay." Gave him $10. He came back and he says, "Mommy, you have to open them because the lady says you won't like them." And I was like crushed. So I opened them. And of course I loved them. And yes, they were pretty wild back then. But that my son would think that his mom would be able to express herself this way was the blessing in that moment. So I went back and I said to the lady, "Oh yeah, I love them and I'm keeping them." And so I've had them ever since. And for me, it's those types of stories, like my dress of earrings here. And this is like, I think there's probably about 30 pairs here. I can tell
I love it.
there's some of the ones that I wore in my accounting days. I still have them, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I have earrings. My daughter gave me these ones. My husband brought me back these ones from Ireland when he was away on a trip. I'm trying to see them upside down. This one is from our trip to Africa. Absolutely stunning, amazing time in Africa. These ones, when I bought one to him on a whim, my husband and I were going out. I didn't have time to buy a sexy dress, so I bought some sexy earrings. These were little roses, or when I wrote my story, Just a Rose, which is about a stalker that I had. These ones I got because the lady I was talking to was just a student learning to make jewelry out in Vancouver. And I just absolutely adore them. You can't see them very well on here, but they're absolutely beautifully done. My sons gave me these ones too. They're spider webs, and there's a necklace that goes with them. These ones I bought one day when I was feeling constrained, the feathers, and they're just that. I've got indigenous earrings that I really feel a connection to. I have penguins that I got in Chile and in New Zealand based on our trips. I have a pair of dolphins from marking a Hawaii trip with my best friend and my sister. I mean, they're all attachments. They're all emotions. And then there are some that are just really bizarre, like these ones are Lunch at the Ritz.
Oh my goodness.
Are they
I
wild?
love
Are
them.
they wild?
Wow. Yeah, they're gorgeous.
The story behind them is my husband and I were on a business trip in Atlanta, and this woman had, apparently these are incredibly expensive earrings, and she had 7 or 8 pairs of them, and her husband had left her, so she was selling them for a ridiculously low amount of money. And I said to my husband, "Where will I ever wear them?" And he goes, "You'll wear them." So I bought them.
Oh
And
my goodness.
and then there's these ones that I picked up at a tattoo shop in Ireland. And you can imagine when I walking into a tattoo shop in Ireland, and they're looking at me going, "You're going to get a tattoo?" And I'm like, "No, can I see those earrings?" "Really?" "Yeah, can I see those earrings?" And I love them. They're just absolutely gorgeous,
They
right?
are so gorgeous. So talk to us, Vera, about like when you're like, let's say like today, you're waking up, you know what you're working on today. How are you choosing your earrings? Because I think for a designer to hear the thought process behind a customer in terms of like how they're thinking about what they're gonna wear and how it actually makes them feel, I think that would be so valuable.
So, for instance, these ones, when I put on today for my son, is because I wanted to express how much a connection earrings can have. Like, because for my son to say, Mom's going to love these, is being recognized, is being seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important because I grew up not feeling that I was recognized, not feeling that I was seen. And my son was one of the very first, well, his dad, but my son was one of the very first people who says, like, hey, Mom, there's that spirit inside of you, that energy inside of you. And he recognized it. And so I love these because they kind of look like a bicycle. And that also tells me that, the world keeps going around no matter what's going on. My Ireland ones, I love when I'm feeling like a rebel because yeah, I walked into a tattoo shop and they saw this senior walk in and say, yeah, I'm going to buy a pair of earrings. And they were just blown away. And I love that I can surprise people that way. So if I want to show up and make an impact and be a bit of a rebel, then the energy and the heart, and it's a combination here for me, right? And so I'll wear that to bring the energy and the love to whatever I'm going to do.
Oh my goodness.
And
That's so beautiful.
And then these ones here, these were given to me by some ladies in a mastermind I attend. We call ourselves the Unicorn. And when I published my book, they gave me these earrings.
Oh my goodness.
And so whenever I think of wanting gratitude or friendship, I'll put these earrings on. So it's the stories behind the earrings. These ones came from a lady I interviewed for my book. And aren't they cute? She sent them with a little card that says you're the bomb. So she had them specially made for me. So when I'm feeling kind of low and I need a kick, I'll put on my bombs. Right?
Wow. I love this, Farah.
Amazing.
This is it's just it's so wonderful because honestly, we usually are having designers and that on the show. We don't often have customers who are buying earrings and stuff to come and like really talk through the emotions and how impactful the jewelry is for them on a day-to-day basis and the how it shifts your energy. Like even when you're talking about this, like I can see the energy shift where it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I can totally see when you're having a down day, you can't be down when you wear these custom earrings saying you're the bomb that were custom made for you because you published a book. Like you can't be down. It's going to be like, oh yeah, of course I am. It's like a label. And I kind of want to talk about labels a little bit as well, because I know you talk about linking the words that we use
Yeah.
to the labels on clothing and jewelry. So, can you help us unpack how jewelry business owners can use that idea to help customers feel empowered by what they wear?
Not only the business, not only their customers, but themselves. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important because, excuse me, the theory that I use, the theory that I read about in my book is that words are labels. And just like the clothing labels we wear, they affect how we feel and how we show up. Because we all know when we put on a sexy black dress, how we feel, or a pair of heels, or a power suit, right? And there are bits and pieces of clothing, of jewelry, of accessories, classes that make us feel differently. And what we do is we innately go to those without recognizing what they're doing to our brain body connection. And what I want to do is to take a look at the way the words do the same thing. So if I tell myself that I'm a senior, that's a word I hate, okay? Because it makes me feel old. But if I say I'm youthful, my whole body reacts differently. So we talked about that, the way the brain responds to us, right? So the way we talk, if you say, I'm a jewelry maker, that's completely different than a jewelry designer. If I create earrings versus I create memories, or I create stories, or I create connection, or I create a sense of belonging, a sense of abundance, a sense of love. Like, what is a woman looking for when she's looking for a piece of jewelry? What's a man looking for when he's buying a piece of jewelry for someone? Those are the emotions that we I don't say we ignore, but we don't recognize all the time. We're not aware of the fact that it's the story that matters as much as it is the design or whatever, the connection. So I might have connected to these earrings. I might not have connected to these earrings, but as earrings, but I connected to them as a connection to my son.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can take a look at, if your jewelry designers, your business owners can look and say, I'm creating something that will help someone feel good about themselves. I'm creating something that will help people connect to each other. I'm creating something that will help someone love themselves more, appreciate themselves more. If they're buying it for themselves, helping them realize that they deserve to spoil themselves, that it's okay to buy something for ourselves. It's okay to be expressive, to step outside the norm, to go to a gala with a pair of earrings that dangle halfway down to your chest, right? To stand out. And I think the other thing that's really, really important is that, like you and I, that's what creates connection. Like you responded to my earrings, I responded to your earrings. And I find that when I go places is if I wear a pair of my unusual earrings, I can create a connection. And because I'm an introvert and I don't like just walking up to people, I love that my earrings give me that sense of belonging.
Mm. This is so powerful, Vera. And this is actually reminding me of one of my dear clients. She's been on the podcast a couple of times. And her jewelry brand, she's an introvert as well. And she came to our retreat and we finally like kind of dived into her story and her why and the meaning behind this brand of hers. And it went from like gorgeous, like flowery earrings to actually like, oh my gosh, I'm an introvert. I don't like starting conversations. But if somebody says something to me, I can then open up and I can like kind of pour into that connection. And so her earrings became conversation starters for
Mhm.
introverts, and it's doing so, so well. And so I love that you shared that. And when it comes to helping customers, I mean, I help my clients with this all the time, helping your customers believe that they are worthy of getting something that's actually kind of impractical on one way, but so important for helping them see their worth, shift into different energy or different vibe. Kind of just treat themselves as well and nurture themselves and invest in themselves with jewelry. It's not always the easiest thing to do, and a lot of a lot of women out there, a lot of people struggle with self-doubt or feeling
Mhm.
not enough, especially even the business owners as they're growing their business. So how do you help women reframe their self-talk to really support their goals?
So one of the things that I like to do is really start off a conversation that way. And it's by changing the way we introduce ourselves. So typically when women introduce themselves, it's like, I'm so-and-so's mom, wife, sister, brother, neighbor down the street, or the work you do. I make jewelry. I'm an accountant. I'm a bookkeeper. I'm a whatever. We put ourselves in these little boxes because we think that that's how people will relate to us. When in fact, what we're doing is we're denying what our innate strengths and skills are. So what I like to do when I'm in a workshop or a meeting or anywhere else is the little name tags that we have.
Mhm.
You don't write your name. You don't write your job. You write your superpower. You
Ooh.
write your passion. And so now I can walk up to you and say, oh, you're curious. Oh, you're a dog lover. Oh, right? And now we have a connection that talks to the spirit of who we are. And when we talk to the spirit and the core of who we are, to our values, I'm heart-centered. I'm an environmentalist. I'm a rare orchid gardener, right? We create a true connection. And the energy level just goes through the roof because you found an immediate connection instead of, oh, yeah. Because women have this terrible tendency to say, I'm just starting out. I just make a few designs. I'm just, doing this on the side. This is a passion project. Now, it's not a passion project, it's a passion work. It's not a project, it's a work, right?
Mm.
And if we own those, if we own the fact that we're allowed to have that passion, to have that love, then we just completely show up differently. And when we show up differently, we get more. When we ask for more, we get more. We don't want to ask for more. We use limiting language. We demean ourselves. And one of the things that I've said before, and I say at my TEDx, is that if we don't value ourselves, how do we expect other people to value us?
Yeah.
So as jewelry designers, you need, because I'm not a designer, I'm just a wearer, is to help, is to realize the value that you have put into your jewelry so that somebody actually realizes the value they're getting from it.
Mm. That is so, so true. So, so true. And you know what's coming up for me, Vera, when we're talking about this is when we're like, I see this all the time. I see jewelry business owners who call their business a hobby.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's safe. And it's like my pet peeve, because I'm going to say out of like 1,000 people who call their jewelry business a hobby, only 1% are probably legitimately a hobby. The rest are just playing it safe. The rest are just like, they've told themselves these stories about like, making money for my art is evil or bad, or I'm just like falling into the system of like I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resistance there. And I've worked with designers a lot where it's like, okay, we have to reframe this. We have to recognize that we're worthy of being business owners. We're
Yeah.
worthy of going and telling people we're business owners. The number of incredibly talented designers I've worked with who are making good money in their business, and they still struggle to actually like
Mhm.
express to people or friends or family that I'm a business owner, I'm a jewelry designer, I make these pieces that like help women celebrate this, or like they really struggle with that. It's interesting to me, and it does come down to self-worth, and it comes down to not feeling worthy or not enough, or waiting for someone to give them permission to do that. And so
Wow.
I do this thing on calls sometimes where I'm like, okay, who needs a permission slip to
Yep.
who needs a permission slip? I'm going to hand them out now. Anything you need, because you actually don't need to wait for them. But sometimes we're like, I need somebody to tell me it's okay for me to go do my business full time, or it's okay for me to go make jewelry or make art or do something different. And the reality is like, nobody's going to come and give us that permission. We have to recognize it within ourselves, and we have to give ourselves that permission to go do that thing and recognize that we're worthy, even if it fails,
Yeah.
even if it's a hot mess. Like, you're so worthy of, we have this one life. We're so worthy of going and using the gifts that we've been given and expressing ourselves and testing and trying and failing. I'd rather get to 80 and look back on my life and be like, oh my gosh, I did so many different things. I failed a lot. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. Rather than looking back and be like, well, I lived this perfect cookie cutter life on one level. Nothing kind of went wrong. Like, I didn't really put myself out there, but like, I wish I had done this, or I wish I just tried that, or I wish I hadn't been like so rigid in like what I thought I was worthy of doing. And it's interesting how we're so hypercritical of ourselves, but we would never say what we say to ourselves to a best friend or to a
Yep.
daughter. And I often just tell my clients, like, can you like stop speaking to yourself like you don't like yourself? Start speaking to yourself like you're your best friend, or you are speaking to your daughter, because the language changes,
Yeah.
and what we see as potential for them changes as well.
Yeah. And it really is so much about the way, like, we can listen to the voice that says, you got to be a good girl and you've got to do this. Or you can listen to the voice that says, what if? Right. And what I often think, I learned this from a girlfriend, and she says, okay, you're faced with a decision. She says, close your eyes. Think of A, what does your body feel? Think of B, what does your body feel? And if I go, I'm safe, what if? My body right there just told me what I wanted to do. And I love asking people if they do pro and con lists.
Yeah.
Because how many people do you know do pros and cons? I should or I shouldn't.
Oh, so many.
As soon as you're doing a pro and con list, you're trying to rationalize what you know you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Think about that. If you truly wanted to do it, you wouldn't need a pro and con list.
Yeah.
And so if we start to listen to our gut, to our intuition, just close our eyes and forget about what somebody else is going to say, but what you feel like. And coming back to what you said about permission, I think that's what I do 90% of the time as well. It's like, can you give yourself permission just to try one little thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we talk about confidence, like confidence doesn't come. Confidence is a practice. And you have to give yourself permission to take little steps to build the confidence so that you know that you're going to do it next time. So if I say, I'm going to, well, okay, so like I've decided I'm going to live to be 106. just random, just a random number. And so that means I've got to work out more. I don't like working out. So, okay, but if I can do 10 push-ups today, or I can do 11 push-ups today, can I do something that I know I can achieve that's still a stretch, so that my brain hears, okay, she's made a commitment, she does it. Oh, I can trust her. And the next time she says she can do something, I know I can trust her and she'll do it.
Yeah.
It's building that link, right?
Yeah.
And also giving ourselves permission, like you talked about money and stuff. One thing that happened, this is decades ago, and I wanted a housekeeper because we were working full time in the business and things were going on, but the business wasn't going that well. My husband goes, "That's $100. Can we really afford it?" And I went, "You'll spend $100 on a golf game for 4 hours. $100 will give me 4 hours." Decision closed.
Yeah.
We need sometimes what my girlfriend says, her boyfriend's name was Bobby. She says, I look at these situations and say, what would Bobby do? And that changes our mindset too.
That is game changing. Like, I think that's going to help so many listeners, because when you're growing a business, I mean, you've built multiple companies at this stage, but for jewelry business owners, their first hire, everyone's thinking it has to be in the business. And my approach is often it's first hire at home. Yep. Because when you're a brand new business owner, you do need to wear a lot of the hats. There's a lot of things you're still figuring out, a lot of things that you do need to first get a good understanding of before you're outsourcing or hiring team members. And the first place I typically recommend most clients are hiring is within their home. And the resistance is wild.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not lazy. I can't have someone clean my house. I can't have someone help meal prep. I can't have someone watch the kids. The resistance to that is so wild. But I think if they try this approach that you just shared of what would your husband say? What would a guy building a business say? They wouldn't think about it twice.
No. And it's that expectation, because we expect that we have to be the ones to do that. And I remember my husband saying, well, if you're hiring, don't clean before they come. Because that's the other thing that women do. I would pick up so that she could focus on cleaning. Absolutely. But the other theory, and this comes back to what you're saying, is when we hire within a business. So when we've hired within a business, you usually hire people for the repetitive tasks. Mm-hmm. What is housekeeping? It's a repetitive task. You are not making a difference in the world when you mop the floor or clean the toilet. I'm sorry, ladies. That's a repetitive task. And you are giving somebody else an income that will help them go out and buy a piece of jewelry to make themselves feel better. Mm-hmm. Right? It's a circle.
100%. 100%. So hopefully somebody listening to this is like, okay, this is the sign. I'm getting some support. I'm getting some help. Because it makes a world of difference. And I want to go back to what you were sharing earlier about confidence, because I've seen this as well, even on my own journey. If we can't trust ourselves to do the things we say we're going to do, or to be the person we say we're going to be, it's very hard to trust others.
Yep.
And like you were saying, if our goal is to live to 106 or run a marathon, or, get healthier, or build this business of ours, or follow our dreams, we don't just want to go all in from not doing anything and trusting ourselves. We have to take those small tolerable steps, which could be going for a 10-minute walk, like you said, every day, or doing small steps at a tolerable pace, and then slowly stacking that evidence that, oh my gosh, I am who I say I am. And you build that self-trust again, because I find that if you can't trust yourself to show up in business or in life, that is a basis for not trusting other people, not getting support, not actually living a life that feels fulfilling to you. And it's a difficult thing to work through on one level, but it's simple if you just take those little steps every day and you just start making commitments and then following through and stacking that evidence, oh my gosh, I did what I said I was going to do. Right at the beginning of this, Vera, you mentioned how you've built all these companies and stuff, but you've never really been scared of failure. I don't remember exactly how you framed it, but you said
nothing to lose. Yeah.
You've got nothing to lose. And I love that approach, because my experience in entrepreneurship is, I've spoken to so many entrepreneurs and stuff, but I've also had to, at certain times, get advice from lawyers and accountants. And you've got a financial background, so I think this would be fascinating to hear your perspective on this. But what I've seen is that you can talk yourself out of entrepreneurship so easily, because if you write down on paper what building any business looks like, the risks are so high on so many levels that lawyers and accountants have tried to talk me out of things that I do in business for growth, which have risks. And I have to go against their advice because I know they are optimizing for safety. I'm optimizing for growth. And so when people are sometimes looking at, like, okay, they have a nice cushy corporate job, but they really want to build this business, or they're doing it part-time and they want to go full-time, and they start writing out the pros and cons, like you said earlier, it is possible for us to talk ourselves out of something that we are actually capable of doing, because entrepreneurship has risks. And on paper, I don't think it makes sense. What's your perspective on that?
Most of the things that bring value to life probably don't make sense.
Yeah.
Writing my book probably didn't make sense. I had a lot of people say, well, you guys are getting ready to where you could retire if you sold the business. Why would you take on something more? Because I want adventure in my life, because I want to have an impact with my life, right? Doesn't make sense. But to come back to the whole aspect of entrepreneurship and why do it, like, we were forced into it. Well, we weren't forced. We could have gotten other jobs, but it was something that we both kind of wanted to do. And so we were led into it. And yes, we almost went bankrupt twice. And yes, we made some bad decisions. And yes, we've had some absolutely amazing times. And I've often said that entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster. You're going to go up and down and up and down. And for me, it was always knowing that my husband was going to be there at the bottom when we got to the bottom, and he's going to be there at the top when I got to the top. So that was always cool. And our kids have witnessed this, and our kids are stronger for it because our kids have learned critical thinking. They've learned that you can make mistakes and survive, that you can continue to grow. We're role modeling resistance. We're role modeling living. And for me, watching people in my lives, it was like, I can go the safe path, and everybody I know wants me to go the safe path. But having had, for me, and again, this isn't a unique experience, but having had to learn to walk 6 times, because every time I had a surgery, it changed the way I walked. It changed my leg length difference, my alignment. Walking is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And walking on a straight path is one thing, but to challenge myself to walk a hike, a hill, to climb a mountain, to climb a bigger mountain, that was more fulfilling than knowing that I could just walk down the street. And so I think when we find out what gives us that sense of satisfaction, that's what we can use to inspire ourselves. So if someone is looking at starting a jewelry business because they want to help other people look beautiful, that's what they have to put in mind. If they're wanting to start a business because they want to create and express, then that's what they have to remember, that expression isn't going to be accepted by everyone, but those who want it, like me, like some of the jewelry I have, I know is one-off, and I've got a couple pieces that are made specifically for me in the colors I want. We're your people. And it won't necessarily mean that everything is absolutely guaranteed, but like I said, we used to always say, what's the worst thing that can happen? Can we live with it? And if we can, it's a go. It's life. It's beautiful.
I love that, Vera. And it comes back again to also trusting that even if you hit bankruptcy or things go wrong, you are resilient and you will find a way through. Like, we have to trust that, hey, like, I'm resilient, I'm capable, I will figure things out as well, even if things get up and down, which you're guaranteed on entrepreneurship. So you are a TEDx speaker. I know we touched on this earlier, and you've shared your message now with like thousands and thousands of people around the world. I'm curious to know, what has surprised you most about how women respond to changing the way they talk about themselves?
You know what? It's like seeing them sit up. It's the body language. It's, to me, when I sit there and somebody says, like, oh, well, I'm OCD, I can't do something like that. I go, no, you're reliable and trustworthy. and the body language.
Mm.
Seeing the way in which when we turn that word around into the positive instead of the negative, we realize our value. And for me, that's the thing. I think we have all these strengths and skills that we don't realize our strengths and skills. And I think most women are leaders. We don't call ourselves leaders. We call ourselves project managers, moms, volunteers, whatever. But we're the people that bring the world together, make the world go round. And I think we need to celebrate that
Mm.
because there's so much strength and power in sometimes a soft way, sometimes a loud way, sometimes a funny way. But we have those innate strengths and skills. And when we can access them, that's what brings us confidence. That's what brings us happiness. That's what brings us success. We don't need to define success the traditional way with money, status, and power. We can define it in such a way that it says that this is what makes me happy. This is what makes me feel good. This is what's aligned with my values and my creativity and my life.
Mhm. I love that. That's so beautiful. I even found myself shifting my body language when you were sharing this, and I'm like, yeah, that's so beautiful, Vera. And I know we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but I have a quick question for you. I don't know if you can share, but I'm curious because obviously, you know what I'm sensing from you is this like love for life
Yeah.
and love for like pursuing your passions and doing things and trying new things. And I have a feeling you're never going to stop.
No, I'm not.
Um,
No, I'm not.
so what are you working on in the next like year or two? Like what is there a fun project? I don't know if you can share like what's coming up for you?
I've got 2 more books I've started to write.
Oh my goodness.
One is a memoir because my story is a little bit quirky, a little different. One is I've been journaling since I've been about, I don't know, 20 years old, and I've got boxes and boxes of musings and whatnot. And so I've started Nearly Naked Truths is my blog, and it's on, what's the platform that's on? Substack. So it's just a gathering of all of these bits of wisdom, sort of like Chicken Soup for the Soul, only this is like a little bit more of the I'm going to call it the quandaries that women go through. And so I'm working on that. I'm also doing a workbook to go with my book, The Words We Wear. And then I'm looking at doing more workshops. I've started to do more podcasts because I just love being able to share these types of stuff. And I want to go do a writer's retreat in Portugal. Yeah, there's a few things on my list.
Oh my goodness. I love this so much. And I hope like anyone listening is inspired to like not put their life on pause. Because I sometimes see people, I've had a very dear client of mine who was 40 and she was like, I think it's too late for me to start a business. And now she's got this thriving business. This was a couple of years ago. But like sometimes we put these timelines on. I put it at 30. I was like, oh, it's too late to do anything. So everyone has these timelines and it's like no, we can keep building, we can keep writing, we can keep doing retreats and like embracing life for all it is. So this is really exciting, Vera, and thank you so much for coming and sharing so much of your knowledge and wisdom with our listeners. I know everyone's going to want to follow along on your journey. So where can our listeners find you? How can they support you? Where can they read your book, see your TEDx talk, all that good stuff?
The easiest way to find everything is on my website, which is veragervais.com. I'm active on LinkedIn more than any other platform, just because. And it's Vera Milan Gervais, MILANGERVAIS. My book is available everywhere. There's an audiobook too that I recorded, and I think that most women seem to like that because they can listen to that when they're doing other things, which is what we do. We multitask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my TEDx is on YouTube under my name again as well. So yeah, and if anybody has a group of women in particular that they think need some motivation and inspiration, I love doing podcasts. I love doing mastermind guesting, and I do corporate workshops and stages as well. So yeah, I'm open to all of that.
I love that all. We will link that all in the show notes so anyone listening can go click and follow along, check out your website and listen to your talk and check out your book. But Vera, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for
Oh,
joining me.
I'm so
I really
glad we
appreciate
met.
it.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad our earrings connected us.
I know. It was meant to be.
Great. Thanks a lot, Robin.